call this Tuesday, April 14th monthly business meeting to order. Would anyone like to lead us in the pledge of allegiance? Jerry would.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Are there any revisions to the agenda?
Yes, I would like to move the student trustee report to now before public comment. That way our student trustee has other things going on in her life. She can skedaddle on out here.
Right. All right, Carmela, you are on the spot.
All right. I'll start with the high school. Right now we have construction taking place after spring break. It is taking up a few of the parking spots, but overall, students have adjusted really well. As for sports, we have baseball and softball starting up, as well as tennis and track. Some things that have happened recently, we just had juniors participate in taking the ACT, sophomores taking the pre-ACT, and freshmen doing iReady. And we also have the seniors doing community service in the morning and then bowling in the afternoon. Some upcoming events that are taking place this week are the career fair for sophomores. That's taking place on Thursday. And we have the NHS induction ceremony happening Monday night at 7. The upcoming talent show, April 28th at the PAC. We have the 8th grade orientation also at the PAC. That's spring as well as prom. And we just had the district music festival happen at Glacier High School for Whitefish. As for school trips, we have the orchestra trip to New York City, DECA going to Atlanta, and Free Flow going to Studio. And now I'll read the roll down report. Arts in April is in full swing. Students in 2nd through 4th grade are engaged in special activities each Friday afternoon in April. These activities encompass everything from arts and crafts to culinary treats to sports techniques. Thanks to our parents and community members for volunteering their time to make this happen every year for our students. Kindergarten Roundup is April 24th. There will be no school for our current kindergartners on that day, so staff can make room for incoming classes. We also have been conducting the screening for the new early learning program, as well as the semester jumpstart classes that will run from the end of June to the end of July. This year's summer jumpstart will include literacy and math interventions. Now we have the middle school report. The Whitefish Middle School math counts team made up of 7th and 8th grade students represented Whitefish Middle School well at the county competition. Overall, the team took 3rd place, with one of the 8th grade students making 1st overall, and she'll be traveling to Butte, Seattle. All of the students were treated to the Whitefish High School drama performance of Robin Hood. There was lots of positive compliments about the show. The 8th grade students also had the privilege of registering for Whitefish High School with the support of the Whitefish High School freshman team and the Whitefish High School counseling team. Luke Swenson presented to the 7th and 8th grade students, receiving a lot of positive feedback from the students and staff. Whitefish Middle School hosted the annual talent show, providing the entire school with a showcase of amazing talent. And the 7th and 8th grade girls and boys track season has started. There has been a lot of participation by the 7th and 8th grade students. There are about 30 7th grade girls and about 30 7th grade boys. In the 8th grade, we have 35 girls and 40 boys. They had their first meet last Friday with a lot of success. One of the 8th grade boys broke a 36-year-old record in the mile event. Highlighting a Whitefish Middle School club, we have a 5th and 6th grade chess club, 7th and 8th grade chess club that meets weekly with great participation. Thank you to Mrs. Barnes and Mrs. Kavanaugh for their time each week. Whitefish Middle School students experienced success in authors of the Flathead Writing Contest, out of 100+ entries, Whitefish Middle School writers won 4 prizes, second place nonfiction, tied for third nonfiction, and second place poetry. And that's it.
Yes, thank you very much. Anyone have any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we will move on to item number D, which is public comment. This item is the appropriate place to make comments about an item not on the agenda, but within the board's jurisdiction. Each action item on the agenda has its own public comment period. In order to protect individual rights of privacy, avoid comments that identify students or staff members. Additionally, public comment cannot be used to make comments regarding contested cases, grievances, or legal proceedings. Due to open meeting laws, the board cannot respond in any way to comments made during the public comment period. That applies to questions. So if you guys ask us a question, we cannot respond to that question. So we're not trying to be rude. It's just the law. The opportunity for public comment and participation during a school board meeting is provided by attending the school board meeting in person. And so I will open it up. The other thing is that we do have a 2-minute on public comments as well. So we'll try and help you keep track of that. We'll help you're doing that as well. So is there any public comment this evening? I have received one from.
Yes. You want us to line up or do you want us to stand up or what? You want us to line
However
up
it
or-
works. So whatever you guys can.
You have to come to the podium though.
Yeah, it helps if you come to the podium, the microphone's there.
Just turn in your.
And then if you, turn in your sheet, just so we know.
Do
who
you?
are. Yes,
Okay.
please. Thank you.
Good evening, board. My name is Megan Zonich. I am a volunteer track coach at the high school. This is my 4th season as the high jump coach. I am the only female on staff. At the beginning of the season, I was looking forward to working with another female that I was told was going to be hired. Unfortunately, that fell through without any explanation from the board. As the only female on staff, it is my responsibility to oversee the over 60 females that we have on our team in the locker room and on the bus. It is impossible as a one person to do that. It is negligent to have a size of a track team that we have over 110 students and not have a female on staff. That is irresponsible and unacceptable. I have applied myself for the open position. I understand that there is a policy that the school district has that you are not allowed to be a volunteer coach if you are in the process of applying for a coaching position. That makes no sense. I would love to have a copy of where that rule is listed in the district handbook. So I have withheld my application until mid last week because I was going to be away from practice, therefore not penalizing my athletes for not having a coach. I was told today that the coaching position has been closed. Again, no explanation, just that it was closed. I urge you to reconsider bringing a female staffer on board for the betterment of our children. Our job as coaches, your job as board members are to do what's in the best interest of our kids, and we are getting hosed this year as a track team. Thank you.
Is it okay if I run a timer on my phone? Sorry.
Oh, totally. That's fine. You have a little sheet.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
thank you. Sheet.
Hello, my name is Grace Williams. I'm a teacher at Whitefish Middle School. I coach 2 sports. I instruct CPR for the district. I facilitate MTSS for one of our buildings, and I act as a district wellness liaison. I'm very fortunate to expand to various positions beyond a classroom educator, and I hope to continue doing this to help out our district and our students. I want to start by thanking our board members for you guys' continued dedication to our students and staff. I really appreciate each and every one of you and the time and energy that you guys take from your very busy lives to help us and our students. It means a lot.
I'm here today to comment on our hiring procedures and how they may change. I want to be very clear that there is something out there that I do not only condone, but I find entirely inappropriate. And I understand that it is being discussed in an effort to cover up previous discrimination that occurred in an internal hiring process. I feel really fortunate to work at this district. I'm fortunate that I have a board that I believe will, at the end of the day, hear me and protect me. And I'm fortunate that I have not disagreed with admin up until this point in my career here. It is unfortunate right now that we are teetering on becoming a district that penalizes outspoken, hardworking educators who challenge wrongdoing and the misuse of power. It is absurd to me that we are working to pass a policy that would prevent educators in our district from further contributing to student success. This policy would create a situation where we hire out-of-district strangers who may have actual, real, non-discriminatory letters of reprimand, allow them to work with our students over the highly qualified members of our school community. Thank you for your time. I enjoy teaching your children. I want to remind you that none of us are coaching, running meetings, or holding crossing guard signs for the lavish amount of extra money it brings. We are coaching and teaching because we care about your children and the students in this district. Now's your chance to care about us. I believe you will see this injustice and understand what this policy is truly about. You are wound up to give a slap in the face to the hardest working educators in this district. Please don't do it. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sol Holmquist. I am a student athlete here at Whitefish High School. Myself and my fellow captains are here to discuss some of the arising issues that we have this season. The Whitefish High School track program is extremely short-staffed, which has caused an unsafe environment for athletes training under limited and inexperienced coaches. We're extremely grateful for all of the coaches who have stepped up this season to coach events that they're not necessarily familiar with, but without properly trained coaches, it's impossible for our students to have the most success. Our current jumps coach, for example, is a distance coach, and while he has been exposed to horizontal jumps, he has no personal experience with the mechanics or technicalities of the sport. A potential coach this season who ended up not getting offered the position, however, had more than enough experience, which is crucial for allowing our athletes to have the same opportunities for success as those with coaches that have collegiate or high school experience. The addition of another female coach would also be beneficial to our team as a whole. At the moment, we only have one female volunteer on our staff and 5 non-volunteer coaches for over 100 athletes. For reference, our football team has 12 coaches for only 70 athletes. Additionally, our girls' head coach is unable to contribute to locker room supervision and has little to no help with bus supervision. At this age, it is vital for young women to have a strong female role model and authority figures that they feel comfortable going to with personal issues. While myself and our other girls' captains are more than willing to assist, we are students and have limited roles of authority. After losing 2 or more coaches last year, our team is in desperate need of experienced coaches to help monitor practices and keep our athletes safe, as we are currently split between 3 separate practice locations. Your reconsideration of this issue would be greatly appreciated by not only myself and our student athletes, but by our entire coaching staff. Thank you for your time.
Hello, everyone. My name is Maggie Zonich. I have the privilege of being one of the captains chosen to represent our track team this year. The most frustrating thing about our transportation situation this year is how the school board allows just about every other sport to drive to their practices. Soccer drives, baseball drives, softball drives, tennis drives, swim drives, and golf drives. And none of these athletes are required to fill out an alternate transportation form because those off-campus locations are where they're required to go. We are now required to go practice at Sioux Falls. So why is our team being treated differently than every other? Because our practice schedule is so up in the air, having the flexibility to drive ourselves would be most effective in getting somewhere and being efficient with all of our time. I understand the concern with having underclassmen drive themselves, so our solution to this is we have every senior and junior go into the locker room and write their name on the whiteboard with the number of spots they have in their car, and underclassmen go and sign up in those spots. I am then responsible for those underclassmen. Events vary with end times, so events will drag together. For example, I take all the high jumpers, Sol Holmquist takes all the throwers, Sam Nissen takes all the sprinters. This is so we don't have to have kids waiting hours for everyone to get done at the same time. There are solutions. We do not need to keep overcomplicating our already very complicated season. The decisions made by the school board affect me and my teammates directly. This is my senior season, and while we cannot control the construction that is already underway, we still need to address the problems that are affecting our team. Let us drive. Give parents a release fund and let seniors and juniors take kids. Our team is already struggling. Do not add to the burden of our season. We have been denied practice facilities. Please do not deny us the flexibility of driving ourselves. Thank you.
Hi, I am Sam Nissen. I'm a senior at Whitefish High School. I'm a captain. And I would like to talk to you about the inconvenience and safety problems going on with busing to Columbia Falls. First of all, the buses are known to not be a very reliable source of transportation in the school district. They frequently break down. They are frequently late. You can ask any coach. I'm sure they will have many stories to tell you about that. On top of this, last practice that we had in Columbia Falls, only one bus came to pick up the track team. It was 20 minutes late and there was only one. That is a safety hazard. Those buses legally can only seat 74 students, and we had 100+ students fitting onto this one bus. The solution to that is either have students wait, and then the bus comes and picks us up later, or everyone overloads the bus, which is a massive liability for you as the school, and is also a safety hazard for us as the students. On top of this, as was stated before, different events take different amounts of time. As a member of the NHS, like as an NHS member and as someone who has multiple AP classes, that extra time that's being wasted, I need to spend studying. I'm missing time studying right now for several teachers that are in this room. I could be doing assignments, but instead I'm here talking about this because we're having our time wasted, quite frankly. And I would love to have that time to study. I'd love to have that time to spend with my family and, do what a high schooler does. So that's my point. This is a major safety concern. This is a major inconvenience, and I'd like it to be addressed. Thank you.
Other public comment? Thank you.
My name is Willie Roach, and I serve as the head boys track coach at Whitefish. I am writing this and speaking to formally express my deep disappointment in the board's recent decision to trump the administration's recommendation to hire Addie Connolly as assistant track and field coach. Coach Connolly went through the application and interview process that our district has had as status quo for many years, and many coaching hires. After the interview process, the hiring committee unanimously determined that Coach Connolly was the correct person for the job, so we recommended her for hire. That recommendation came from myself, head girls coach Matt Beckwith, AD Eric Harris, assistant principal Hallie Kopang, and superintendent Dave Means. Every person hired by this board to make these kinds of decisions agreed that Coach Connolly was the right choice. Coach Connolly is already a teacher in this district, our head volleyball coach, and a respected leader in our school community. With her being a teacher in multiple buildings and her extensive coaching experience of our high school girls, she has a major role in students' lives from their first years till their last years. She's exactly what we needed. What happened in the March 17th board meeting was, in one word, wrong. With no discussion, no explanation, and zero transparency, the board chose to override the collective judgment of every admin and coach involved in the process. It felt as though conversations were had behind closed doors that some things should be public knowledge. School boards are meant to make informed decisions on the systemic processes that are put in place. And this time, the board decided to disregard the process and make an uninformed decision. I want to be direct. When a school board disregards the recommendations of the SOUP, admin, AD, and both head coaches, it sends a clear message that the people hired to make these decisions, myself included, are wrong and untrustworthy of making that decision, which is incredibly disappointing. The board owes us an explanation, not because the law requires it, but because the students, the staff, the parents, the community, and Coach Connolly deserve one. Our season has already begun. and our athletes are without a coach that they should have had from day one. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Matt Beckwith. I am the head girls track coach at Whitefish High School. I'm here today to express my extreme disappointment in the recent decision not to hire Addie Connolly as assistant track coach at Whitefish High School. The recommendation for hiring this position was made by 2 track head coaches who are closest to the program and most in tune with the needs of Whitefish High School track and field, as well as athletic director and assistant principal. This recommendation was also supported by the superintendent. We believed Addie to be a strong hire who would bring many benefits to an already strong program. Our job as coaches and educators is to care about kids. Addie has shown time and time again the level she cares about kids through many roles in this district. Proof lies in the many positive relationships she has developed and maintained with student athletes even after graduation. Those relationships do not just happen. They are due to Addie's dedication to the kids she works with every day. Kids were excited that Addie was a candidate for hire as an assistant track coach. We had several additions to the track roster simply because students wanted to spend more time with Coach Connolly. We will still offer all of those students a positive experience and opportunities for success, but there will be some disappointment from our athletes. This also has a substantial impact on the Whitefish High School track and field program. Currently, we have roughly 100 student athletes spread over 17 events. With a full staff and a handful of volunteers in a normal season, it can become quite a task to offer every student athlete the attention they deserve and need daily. We are now short a staff coach, which means our coaches are sharing duties. Our coaching staff will adapt and make situations work, but ultimately that means kids will not get the attention they need every day. This track season is also quite unique because we do not have a facility for the majority of the season. As a program, we have a plan in place to adapt and make the best of the situation. However, that plan needed a full coaching staff. Once again, coaches will be spread thin and kids do not benefit. I feel this decision did not benefit the high school track and field program, and more importantly, it did not benefit the student athletes of Whitefish High School. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Carl McDermott. And I'm also here to address the board's recent decision to override the recommendation of the administration and the hiring committee regarding Addie Connolly. I read Coach Willie Rocha's letter to the board, and I agree with it. I support his perspective on the process. In short, Addie's qualified. The administration and hiring committee are the individuals most equipped to make that determination. And it is concerning that the board chose to disregard their recommendation, especially without providing any explanation. Perhaps the most concerning part for me is how I think the board is conducting its business. Now, one possibility is that each board member by themselves believes that they are better equipped than the administration and hiring committee to assess Addie's qualifications. Taking what you each personally knew at the time, you each independently came to the exact same conclusion that she should not have been considered for the job. Or another potential possibility is that discussions have taken place outside of public meetings and decisions are being shaped or effectively predetermined before the board convenes. If the latter is true, it raises serious concerns about transparency and potential violation of open meeting laws. The public has a right to observe not only the final decision, but also the deliberation process that leads to it. Thank you for your time.
My name is Brett Boyd. Been in this district for coming up on 20 years. And I want you guys to know that none of us in this room are here because people asked us to be here. We are here because we believe in what is right in this situation. Tonight I stand before you more frustrated and confused than I have ever been in my time here as a coach. Coaching in schools has become less and less desirable with each passing year. The hours are long, the headaches are many, For example, this will be the first year of my coaching tenure that we have more applicants than positions available. First time. However, we as coaches choose to continue down this path because we believe in the possibility of positively impacting a student. Tonight, I'm here not only to advocate for the coaches who are being denied that opportunity, but also to explain the ramifications of what feels very much like an attack on the service happening within our school district. Last month, when the board did not approve Coach Connolly to be an assistant track coach and gave no explanation as to why, so many questions arose. We did not receive any reasoning or explanation, which only has led to more rumors and more questions. This has also happened within our baseball program, which is also inadequately staffed because of a decision made by those people behind the table. I want to be very clear. Our student athletes are the ones who are suffering. They are the ones who are not getting what they deserve, and we would like to know why. Transparency in these decisions would provide clarity and understanding in order to improve the entire process. Also, roughly 1 year ago, Coach Connolly was denied the same junior high track program because of an apparent policy which was involved, or a policy which was involved a written reprimand. I hope that you can understand my confusion when I read in the minutes about action item I on tonight's agenda, which seems as though it is retroactively fitting a decision made a year ago. To put this in context of our district, feels like an 8th grader being denied the chance to go on the history trip because of something that happened in 6th grade.
That's 2 minutes, Brett, sorry.
Last sentence. As a coach in our district, instead of feeling your support and gratitude for the work we are doing, we are left anxious, uncertain, and confused. I'm asking that you please trust the people who have been put in these positions to make them.
Any other public comment? You.
Hello, my name is Chad Ross. I've been employed as a football coach or director or activities liaison, DECA, and a whole bunch of things for over 28 years in the district. And I also want to support Coach Conley, but for me, I more would like to just address the discussion things you guys are going to have on Action I about the whole idea of the reprimand and how many years of that and going on. I don't want to repeat what Brett said. It seems like that we're addressing something that has already taken place and it appears. And the only people that are less paid than coaches are board members. So that I understand too, that you guys volunteer your time and you do that. But in appearance, it appears that we're trying to implement something that's addressing an issue that's already taken place. And I know being on other boards that you can't discuss all personal things that happen. And I understand that. But when we can say Addie because that's her name. She still teaches at 2 different schools right now, and she's still the head volleyball coach. So if it was something that was deeper than that, where you guys didn't have trust in her ability to keep that position, I think that it would have affected the other things. So the outside of appearance of the board is like, it's almost a personal vendetta or it's targeting upon an individual because she still holds positions that you guys allow her to do, but you won't allow her to be an assistant coach in a separate position. And then when I see action on the I for discussion, it appears from us coming in or for me individually that we're trying to create something and you don't trust the people that you put in hand. The hiring process that it works right now, that every applicant is screened, adding that in there, the verbiage of if there's a reprimand, the administrator themselves, the athletic director, even before it goes to the hiring committee, would have the opportunity to look at internal references and make it a decision of like, no, this isn't the best fit because of information we have that the hiring committee might have. So it appears again that you guys are looking to usurp the authority that you've already entrusted into the administration to create something to cover something that's already happened. Thank you.
Further public comment?
My name is Julio Delgado. I taught school here for 30 years, coached multiple sports for 20 years, over 20 years. And I think the problem has been created by you people and the administrators, that you no longer hire teachers that can coach and coaches that can teach. You're having to go into the community and ask people to coach that don't have the expertise of working with kids and athletes. And so consequently, you're getting some subpar coaching than you have in the past. You have administrators and a hiring committee that have recommended 2 individuals to be hired. It's amazing to me how you can bypass their recommendations unless there's some personal vendetta involved. I can tell you, I can speak for Ray Queen, as I was able to coach him as a baseball player and as a baseball coach. You couldn't find a more qualified individual to take that position. From what I've seen from the head volleyball coach, it's the same thing. So it just doesn't make any sense to me to come up with a policy that's going to narrow the amount of coaches available to you. The most important thing to a head coach is loyalty. And if you take that away from the head coach, okay, you're going to have coaches that are going to be backstabbing each other, and the program does not run correctly. The head coach has to have basically the final say on who his staff is, whether you like it or not. If you're going to have a program that's going to run correctly, you got to have him or her be the final say on who gets hired. Thank you.
Further public comment? Okay. So we will move on to item number F, which is our approval of minutes. We have quite a few of those.
So are you guys gonna do item C?
Oh,
Item C is just a division of the agenda. But by Robert's rule of oil, you could go back and look at Ed and Connolly, and any one of the board members could ask for another vote. Since it, not during this meeting, since it wasn't set.
Not during this meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, so just to clarify, the item wasn't tabled, so we can't pick it back up, but it could be put back on the.
Right.
Just
Because it's not dead. Yeah, thank you.
But it would have to be noticed so that people
Yeah.
have time to do. public
That way,
comment.
okay.
Great.
That's why we get
Yeah, have more public comment. Yeah.
Thank you. So we are moving on to item F, which is the approval of minutes. And we'll do each one individually. Are we ready?
Here we go.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Approve April, okay, the minutes for April 1. A motion has been made by Katie. Okay, the second by Darcy, all those in favor? One here. And Quincy was not.
So you
So now we will move on to the March 17th.
I move we accept the minutes of the March 7th board meeting.
Second, that is moved by Jerry and seconded by Quincy, all in favor? We
That's the I think, not what I'm.
Darcy is not present. That's the 17th. We're moving on to March 10th. Business meeting. Second. Moved by Quincy and seconded by Katie, all in favor. Now we move on to the special board meeting of March 4th, number 1. I vote for this through. Okay, and second. That was moved by Darcy and seconded by Quincy, all in favor. Special board meeting of trustees for March 4th, number 2.
Move to accept the special board meeting of March 4th, number 2.
Second. Okay, that is moved by Jerry, seconded by Quincy, all in favor? Okay, now we're moving on to March fifth, board meeting number 1.
I move we approve.
That is moved by Darcy and seconded by Katie, all in favor? Special board meeting of trustees for March 5th, number 2.
Move we approve.
That is moved by Katie
Second.
and seconded by Quincy, all in favor? Okay. And now we will move on to item H, which is our WEA-WCE.
For those of you in the room that don't know me, my name's Adrian Odell. I teach at the high school and I'm serving as our union president. Stand before you this evening with a very heavy heart for both my colleagues and my own role in our district. As I share my concerns with you this evening, I ask that you listen with the intent to understand. The primary concerns I will share with you revolve around a destabilized collective of highly qualified teachers and administrators. My hope is that you will hear these concerns and consider the recommendations of WEA in order to return our district to a state of sustainable and collaborative service to the ones who matter most, our students. Our WSD hiring process is my first area of concern. Our hiring process has been under review and revision. Many past practices have been adjusted, at times causing confusion and inconsistency due primarily to communication breakdown. WEA recognizes the need for review and supports the refinement of the hiring process for teaching positions in order to facilitate transparency and efficiency for all stakeholders. However, concerns around the hiring process have continued, primarily around the stage of administrative recommendations for hire. Under this category are contract renewals. Bulk teacher contract renewals being dissected to line items rather than following administrative recommendation. This specifically targets untenured teachers and teachers holding Appendix B positions. This potential action by the trustees increases the likelihood of increased destabilization of our collective and undermines the working relationship between teachers and administrators. WEA recommends the following: that the number one, the human resources director communicates directly with the candidate for hire during the entire process. The interview team continues to consist of teachers, staff, and administrators. Number 2, a Whitefish School District work session is scheduled before June 30th, 2026 to gather as much stakeholder input as possible. Number 3, if the denial of any position following administrative recommendation for hire occurs, WEA recommends the following: the HR director and/or the trustees engage in respectful practice, offering an honest explanation of the reasons for denial and suggestions for improvement. Number 4, when a trustee has a personal conflict of interest regarding a Whitefish School District employee, please follow best practice and excuse yourself from discussions, both in and outside of the boardroom, motions, and vote. My next area of concern: Appendix B, position for untenured teachers. WEA cannot in good faith recommend untenured teachers take on these positions due to the severe lack of protective factors and potential negative impact on his or her teaching career. Appendix B positions have a separate evaluation tool that is not a part of our CBA. Number 3, our activities director position. This is a non-administrative assignment with embedded supervisory duties, evaluations, communication, and duties outside of the contracted year. WEA recommends the following. Number 1, administrators, please refrain from recruiting untenured teachers for
for Appendix B positions. The Appendix B, number 2, recommendation, the Appendix B IBB Subcommittee be reconvened before September 2026 with the addition of our Human Resources Director in order to review previous notes and draft a proposal to the full interest-based bargaining committee in 2027. Over the past year, teachers have approached both WEA leadership and our administrators with questions about the appropriate method to give feedback to our school board. I now pose the question to the board, given that surveys are being sent out to students, parents, and staff. Do the trustees seek feedback on their performance outside of the election process? If so, what mechanism for feedback is desired? I would like to draw everyone's attention to the best practice poster on the wall behind Ms. Clark, and hope that everyone in this room, including our trustees, can follow these practices. I'd like to thank the board and the audience for your time and attention to my concerns this evening. I would like an answer to the questions I posed, and are there any other clarifying questions for me at this time? Excuse me?
Can you email or?
The questions?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Be
Or
happy
your
to.
statement,
Or your statement,
The whole thing.
the whole thing.
so that we can see it, right? That'd be possible.
Yes.
I would say just for transparency, one of the reasons we asked for teachers by name is because we don't know a lot. Like, people who don't have kids in the school or don't have kids in a certain school, we get this bulk of names and like, oh, what do they teach? And it's really, when you talk about the human element, that actually is where that came from, was from the human element, was trying to figure out, oh, this teacher teaches foods, or this teacher is teaching history, because we get a name, like, it could be your name, and we're like, well, what does Adrian O'Dowd even do in the district? So it was actually more of a curiosity, not out of an area of targeting. So that's how it felt when the request came through. I'm really sorry, but as the discussion we had as a board, which was during a public meeting, the discussion came about, and the reason we wanted that was so we knew where people were sitting, and also there's movement. And so, you'll see at the end of this agenda, a couple of years ago, we're like, can we just know where teachers are moving? Because maybe you're, oh, so-and-so has a teacher now, and for kindergarten, for example, looks like Miss Brown's moving to kindergarten next year. Miss Brown's in kindergarten, and also the public expects us to know where teachers are. And so to that question in your statement, I would just say that's why we asked for that, was truly out of a human component.
I appreciate that clarification.
So, yeah.
Also, to the end of how we solicit input, thank you all for being here. Every meeting, we have public comment, and we receive your letters, and we receive your thoughts and your input. And every month we get a report from you, Adrian. Thank you for showing up and telling us how teachers are doing. I would say 99.9% of the time it's very positive, and we really appreciate your input and take it seriously.
Thank you.
So thank you for taking the time to offer it, everybody, and do consistently.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're moving into our discussion and action items, and we have moved action item I. No, we haven't. No, we haven't done that. Okay. We just support. Okay, great. So we are moving on to action item A, which is our interim superintendent contract. And I am very proud and happy to present this. Presenting the board for approval is an employment contract for the 2026-27 interim superintendent position to be offered to Lisa Blue. Are there any clarifying questions on that item? Is there any public comments on this item? Back to the board for further discussion or a motion.
I have, I guess, a question about, thinking about kind of what we did this year. When we had a lot of conversation about evaluations, just knowing Dave was leaving and how we wanted to do that, so I think. Right, it's just something, because it's part of the contract, right, that we need to do an evaluation, so I think that we should probably. Convene the superintendent evaluation committee and figure out how we want to go about that for this 1 year, because. Well, Lisa has very much said it's a 1 year position, we still need to do an evaluation, we still need to have priorities and goals and, yeah, keep moving the cog forward, so.
I think a good time to do that would be the annual summer retreat, where the search firm offered to help onboard the new superintendent. And so it might be worth it to engage them in getting everyone on the same page in terms of the goals for the year, of what Lisa's comfortable with, and how we want to establish communication.
That sounds great to me.
If there isn't further discussion, I'll be thrilled to move that we approve this petition.
Okay, that is moved by Katie and seconded by Darcy, all in favor. Okay, so we'll move on to action item B, which is recommendation for hire for the Moldau principal with Mr. Meads.
Then for your discussion of the possible action is the recommendation for hire for the Moldau principal position. I wanted to thank all who participated in the Moldau principal interview process. I want to thank specifically the interview team who carefully reviewed feedback from staff, parents, and the community. During the interviews, the panel asked questions guided by the job description and qualities identified as important in our surveys. So I'm excited to recommend Ms. Santora. She's recommended for hire. Jennifer Santora for hire based on her extensive experience as both an administrator and a district instructional leader. She brings great energy, positivity. Santora currently serves as an assistant principal at Onico Elementary School in Manatee County, Florida. So following this process, the administrative and trustee committee participants recommend Ms. Jennifer Santora for approval of Moldau principals.
Any clarifying questions?
I have one, because I know there were some community panels and staff feedback. When we did the superintendent one, there was opportunity for people who were there, they wrote down things and then they gave it to the committee. Was that similar process? Okay. Sure.
Any other clarifying questions? Is there any public comment on this action item? Back to the board for further discussion or a motion.
I wondered if Jerry wanted to speak to it since she's on the committee.
It was a tough decision. We had 4 very good candidates. And it may seem that Mrs. Santora is not going to be local, but her husband already lives in Houseville and her son is going to school there. And her daughter is going to MSU next year and she's relocating for good here. So that was already planned for the hire. And, the committee did their due diligence. And so I would thoroughly, unless somebody else has a comment, I would like to recommend Jennifer Santora as the new principal. And she will complement our district.
Moved by Jerry. Okay, seconded by Darcy, all in favor. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that was, yeah, all in favor. Thank you. Yeah, okay, we are moving on to C, which is the WHS expansion owners representative report.
No one ever comes to listen to you talk.
Well, I'm just excited this time we've got some better photos. So, I'm Luke Hammond, Tel Construction Advisors. I'm the owner's rep for the expansion projects. This is the April update to the projects that we're working on at the high school. So to start off, as we always do, we'll go over the budget. And this month there are a couple revisions to the budget and the GCCM contract status. So first and foremost, the sources is still the same at the top. Total spent to date is $2,556,043, which represents 7% of the overall budget, which is right on track for what we'd expect at this point in the project. The owner contingency still says TBD, finalizing still some portions on that, and by next month we should have a good picture of what the owner contingency looks like. Construction GCCM contract status, we've infilled some figures here based on the previous 3 amendments to Martel's contract. And this also contemplates the 4th amendment, which should be the final amendment, which we'll look at tonight. So these figures that you're looking at are what we're tracking for the overall cost for the GCCM portion of work with Martel. And so on the athletics phase, we're tracking $6,365,915. That includes the contingency, the contractor contingency that's listed below. On the academic phase, we're tracking $24,330,515, which also includes the contractor contingency listed below that. And again, the next agenda item is to review amendment number 4. So we'll look at that in a minute. Moving ahead to the schedule milestones, no revisions to this month. Everything is still on track, which is great news. And rolling right into the key updates this month. Along those same lines, we started construction out there. I'm sure everyone is fully aware of that. Sorry for the inconveniences. The academic phase started on March 23rd, spring break, and the athletic phase started on April 6th, right after what would have been the last home track meet. And things are moving rapidly. So a lot has happened out there in a short amount of time. And given that this is a relatively tight schedule, things will continue to move rapidly. So a lot of changes will occur out there. Item number 2, as I've already mentioned, is the GMP amendment number 4, which we'll look at here in a minute, which will finalize the balance of the project into Martel's contract. Item number 3, the academic phase key activities this month are asbestos abatement on the portions of the facility that are being demolished. Building demolition is underway, which we'll look at some photos here in a minute, as well as some early micropile foundation work that's occurring on the academic side. Item number 4, key athletic phase activities. We demolished the rope course. We've demolished a lot of earth out there. You'll see in the photos that were taken last Thursday. We are scraping and clearing and grubbing topsoil and getting ready to demo some of the outbuildings that are out there in preparation for the field work that will occur, as well as some early underground utility work this month. So with that, jumping into some more exciting photos this time, it's not just plan sets. The first one here is the groundbreaking photo that we took earlier this month. And that was some of the core team members and board members there at that groundbreaking photo. Rolling into the next one. This is showing right behind what is the construction trailers that are out there right off of Pine, where the old entrance to the high school used to be. This is where the new parking lot will be. So subgrade has occurred to get that up to what it needs to be for future parking lot. This is the construction entrance off of Pine, which is no longer accessible to staff and public. This is looking at the north entrance to the gym foyer, where demolition has occurred and is prepping to take that structure off here over the next week or 2. You'll start to see that building come down. This is the interior work that's occurred to get it ready for that full demolition. And then this is just another shot looking a little bit further south into that building of some of that demolition work that's already occurred. And again, these were last Thursday, so a lot has happened. It's quite different out there today. This one is the track looking from the northwest, which was a portion of the track still remaining as of Thursday. You guys have probably seen it today. That track is no longer there, and most of that grass is no longer there as well. So moving right along. And then this is the south portion of that area, the field practice areas where clearing and grubbing has occurred, getting ready to do some more subgrade prep and utility work. And then just another shot looking to the southeast. What else? Oh, we've also got work going on in the wrestling cardio room. This is to add a corridor for egress purposes. So there's some saw cutting and what is now there is some framing of walls that will have a corridor and a new entrance added at the east side of the building there. So some interior work is occurring. This egress is needed for graduation to occur with the areas that are closed down. And I think those are all the photos. So yeah, exciting things going on out there. It will continue to change, and as impacts move along, we'll continue to communicate those to the community. So that is the update this month. Any questions? Yes.
Can you explain what is remaining to get at the owner's contingency?
We're finalizing this budget today, which will finalize the remaining portions of sourcing that we can use for owner contingency. We're also finalizing permit costs with the city. So just get to that final number. There's just a couple things that need to happen. We generally know what it'll be, but before we plug it in, it's just gotta execute a couple things. We're tracking roughly 5%.
Very exciting. Any other questions? Thank you. Thank you.
Of course. I think I've got the next one.
You do. There it is. So this is a WHS expansion construction.
Yes. So as you guys are fully aware, we've had 3 amendments to date. The first one was for the grandstands. The second one was for the stadium lighting. And the third was the basically first half of the Martell balance of work for the bidding process. And so this would be the second half of that scope of work for the projects. The dollar figures that we're looking at this month to culminate with the balance of their contract is listed. So first of all, there's 3 attachments. The first one is the amendment to their contract, the A133 of the AAA contract form. Exhibit 4.1 lists out the previous amendments as well as this amendment. So the third page of that, the academic phase that we're looking to get reviewed and approved this month is $9,736,563. And then the athletic phase for this amendment is $1,764,613. And the last attachment there is just the breakdown of all the bid analysis and everything that went into both phases to culminate with the totals. So those were the amounts that we're looking to get amended this month. The totals for both phases, starting with the academic side, would be $24,330,515. And the total for the athletic side is $6,365,915. Any questions on that amendment?
Shannon?
No, I didn't.
Is there any public comment on this item? Back to the board for further discussion.
I make a motion that we approve the amendment.
That is moved by Shannon and seconded by Katie. All in favor? Thank you.
Yes, thank you guys.
There's a big food budget in there. Oh. Very nice.
Moving on to E, which is the 2024-2025 audit report. And this is a discussion.
The 90-page long audit report has been uploaded. The agenda, we also had only 4 hard copies, so you want to look
Very niche. I already.
you can. It's always available in my office if anybody is interested. So all of you here, for all of you here, we have an annual financial audit as required by law every year. The deadline is March 31st. Our audit firm was Nexus CPAs out of Ellisville, who is a company that has been auditing our district for a number of years. But recently, the ownership of the firm changed hands. We completed the audit by the deadline, and we received the best opinion on our financial statements that's available, which is unmodified. That means the financial statements as presented within the audit report were fairly presented and didn't need any corrections. The audit always takes a long time, as all of you know, because it's a very thorough process that looks at many different areas of what we do: internal controls, cash, liabilities, both long-term and short-term, revenues, issuance of debt, which in our case were the new bonds, revenues of all different categories, expenditures, of which we have more than maybe 30 million a year, fund balances, the budget, and many others. And yes, and federal expenditures. Specifically this year, the auditors looked at IDEA B and IDEA preschool federal grants, which are for special education. So it was very thorough. We received an unmodified opinion. There was one finding as a recommendation to improve, which was one of the high school funds, the initial fund, was slightly over levied, resulting in $1.29 over levy annually for every $100,000 of taxable profit. That's something that does not really need to be addressed, because the over levy of this amount, which is so low, will just get decreased the money we get this year. So it's going to wash. But I think we had a very good discussion with the auditors. Both Dave and Elizabeth were present at the exit conference with the auditors, who spoke to us of the process. So, any questions?
Yes. Many years of doing a great job. The best score would be, so.
Yeah. You know, the 90 pages to show us that you're award worthy. It's really impressive, you guys.
Did you
really impressive?
Appropriate the 90?
I read it.
Seriously, congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Your whole department.
And I want to
Yes.
say, and thank you for reminding me, I want to say, thank you to the business department, my business department colleagues, specifically Carly Watkins and Katie.
That's helpful of you.
Great. Thank you. I will deliver the message.
Thank you. Thank you.
We are going to move on to discussion action F, which is a curriculum and instruction position reorganization. Sarah Crow, give us kind of a rundown of what that would look like.
Good evening, members of the board and members of the public. If we haven't met, I'm Sarah Crum, the Human Resources Director for the district. I work part-time.
You work full time.
So maybe it would be helpful to guide your discussion just by giving you a little bit of what the position looks like now and sort of what's envisioned. So the draft document that was attached to the agenda actually includes a draft of what it could look like, and then the last 2 pages are the existing position description. So existing position description, which Lisa has held most recently, is the Director of Curriculum and Instruction, which really focuses on that element specifically. And you can see in the summary of assignment, it's responsible for the curriculum, aligning to the standards, and then curriculum review, staff development, and a program of assessment. So there are assistant superintendent for curriculum and instruction positions that are found quite commonly in school districts, both within Montana and across the country. I was actually privileged to talk to a couple of these people as I was doing the reference checks for some of our mold-down principal candidates. So that helped me actually get a little bit of a better idea what the job entails. But you can see in the draft, and then I'll also kind of float a few other things past you to think about. The assistant superintendent would be looking at the curricular, instructional, and assessment programs, making sure, again, they align with academic standards, and then facilitating curriculum review and leading staff development and professional growth initiatives. The job responsibilities are broken down there in categories. So you'll see the main functions: instructional leadership and curriculum development, assessment and data literacy, professional development and coaching, communication and liaison duties, and then legal compliance and budgetary duties. One thing in that part that I want to point out is the acting authority to assume the duties of the superintendent in their absence. So this is something right now that we are lacking in terms of a designated position to do that. So in the case of the absence of the superintendent, whether it's for leave or another purpose, maybe traveling out of the district, right now the superintendent asks one of the administrators to take that role as an active backup. But in this model, you would have a designated position and person for that, which I think is helpful because then you know you always have it. I think also the additional focus on professional development and coaching, the data literacy. So all of these things are things that can be assessed at the district level, but then shared and implemented with building administrators, and then also even down to individual instructors, which is helpful because I don't think any staff member in this room who's working in a building with students has extra time to dig into this stuff. And so having an expert that can help lead and guide and interpret and coach is useful. And a lot of that's happening already. And then also just the integration and interface with stakeholders. So obviously this position is serving the staff of the district, but also communicating with the public, informing the board. And then, it's important, obviously, the regulatory compliance, budget, and as I said, acting superintendent duties. Now, what's not addressed in here, that's a question that you see in some models is supervision. So right now, the superintendent supervises all of the administrators and directors that we have in Whitefish. I have the current org chart here, and I can share a copy with you, but I don't have it put up on the screen, sorry. But it's about a dozen people, I think, more or less. Dave, is that right? So what you see in some districts where they have assistant superintendent or assistant superintendents for curriculum and instruction, they will in fact be the direct supervisors, the people doing the evaluations of the building administrators. So in Kalispell, for example, they have 2 assistant superintendents, one that does K-8, I think, and the other that does 9 to 12. Same model in Missoula. So in Missoula, those assistant superintendents, they do the evaluations for the administrators that fall under their section. We would have 1 for the entire district. And then, you know, if you followed that model in our staffing pattern, the superintendent would be covering the other administrators and directors that are not in those building positions. So that's a question for the board to consider, whether you would want to build in a supervision piece that would split the duties between the superintendent and the assistant superintendent. And then another thing that can be added to this potentially, and I think is a logical follow on to that, is basically the ability to fill in as a building administrator, whether on a short or long-term basis, depending on what's happening. And you see, especially in smaller school districts in Montana, for example, superintendents who have principal duties. And so that's also something that you could consider building into this. I would say probably in our system, it would look more like that line about the acting superintendent, but it would be a duty that could be to serve on an interim basis ad interim as a building administrator if needed. So that's sort of an overview to kind of help you to know what it could look like, where we are and where we could go. I think it's also a great opportunity when you think about the development of staff, you know, from teacher to administrator and then up through the chain. It's a good way to also be developing future superintendents, whether they are to remain in the district or to go to another district. But I'm always a fan of promoting from within and growing people to do the next thing. It's paining me right now because we're moving people and then we have to fill their job. So it's making more work, but it's the best possible problem for HR or any organization to have because you gain so much experience and dedication when you are able to help employees to do that. So questions or other input?
I think this is a great idea because it will provide more support for the superintendent. I feel like it's something that we've talked about for years, expanding that position, because in a lot of ways the curriculum and instruction person was already doing a lot of that assistant type of stuff. So I think it would make sense to formalize it. I guess my question, Sarah, is exactly what you were just alluding to, which is sometimes there's a domino effect of if you fill this position, then you fill the other position, and so on and so forth. So do you have a timeline in mind?
Oh, well, now that Lisa's been approved as the interim superintendent, I would urge the board to consider if you're going to make this revision to do it as soon as possible and get the thing posted. I think everything we heard as we moved through the superintendent search, the principal search, and also what we're finding with the current hiring, we've had a lot of fantastic candidates coming through for positions, partly because we're hitting on the early side. And so it's really helping us. So I would love to get it out on the street as soon as we possibly can. You know, once we've been able to thoughtfully craft it and get the financial and whatever other approvals we need, so that we can get some great candidates to have a look.
I wonder if it would make sense to put it as a special meeting before our work session, 2 weeks, so that we can get it posted as soon as possible. Good idea.
I have a question. I know sometimes it's been hard between, like with the coaching and then also administration. And so just trying to figure out how to clear up that, line, I think sometimes staff is not sure who they should listen to, if they should listen to their building administrator or the curriculum director, and so I'm just wondering if in the job description or somewhere we can get more clarity around, how those interface all together. So that way everyone knows that, you know, sometimes the curriculum director or assistant superintendent might be coming in with feedback, but it, you know, so does it need to go through just the administrator? Can it go from the assistant superintendent to the staff member? So just making sure that that's really clear and how that works. I know our policy states that the principals are the instructional leaders of the buildings, but then you also have the curriculum or assistant superintendent kind of reporting that. So I think that that's sometimes a real gray area. It gets really confusing for everyone. So just making sure that's really clear.
So one thought I have on that is the supervision piece. Because if this assistant soup is supervising the building administrators, it's a chain of command. And I think what's really important is to have some type of understanding what that is, whether it's clearly defined like that or in another way in the job description. But really, it's the people that are executing the duties to understand that interface and to work well together. And honestly, between building administrators as instructional leaders and the district instructional leader, everyone's on the same team and like moving to do the same thing that's best for the district, right? So, yeah, I think that is also just an important piece of it. But I hear what you're saying, like having that role and kind of how they interface clearly defined is.
It could be, it can all be mixed together. It could be very defined. And, you know, I think that's just something that should have some complication.
Any other questions?
I was just curious if you had any.
I think it's great.
I assume so, but I think we all.
You know, I think it's a wonderful idea. I think, any way we're a growing district, so being all those people, very beneficial. I think one of the highlights you touch on too, is just that thing about the superintendent's not always around. They're traveling to do conferences or something like that, and or just out of town for whatever reason. Really nice to be identify who's in charge, who's responsible when they're gone. Helpful. And then that will focus on structure and engaging in that throughout the district through that assistant superintendent. Makes a lot of sense. The other thing I think is really something that we consider is the structure of supervision. Because like Sarah mentioned, the superintendent in those types of situations supervises district administration, and then assistant superintendent supervise principals.
Thanks. I think it'd be nice for the superintendent to be an island. I feel like it's a real well known job here in our district.
I didn't say that.
I know you don't say that, but I just have
Nice
felt
to have
that.
that.
Yeah, it's nice to have somebody else
Very-
like you could talk about. So.
Well, and this is not really a first position. I mean, this is shifting the position, but it's not really, we're not adding position, we're just filling.
Yeah.
We're giving.
Restructuring.
Restructuring, giving it a different title.
Right.
Very well, Sarah. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Doing great with your part-time job.
Okay, item G, which is personnel recommendations for hire, with Mr. Means.
Front of you here about our list of recommendations for hire. As you can see, the majority of those are for our summer jump starts. Summer school positions. We have some playground, crossing guard positions as well. And there's also some food services temporary. Those are part of that summer. Someone's to help out with some of these.
Any clarity?
Those questions.
I was just curious if this brings us to full staff for culture. Or is there more?
Good question, and we'll get our HR director. Do you want?
Yeah, we have 3 pending.
So close.
Any other questions?
Nice you didn't have to know that.
I did. That's another thing.
Is there any public comments on this item?
Is there opportunity for public comment on item F? On the superintendent's restructuring?
No.
Discussion.
Goes into discussion.
It'll be in the special meeting.
Yeah, it will
Yeah.
be, yeah.
Well,
another
no,
meeting.
yeah, yes, exactly. It'll be noticed 48 hours ahead of time. And anytime it's an action item, then there's public comment. Thank you.
Thanks for the clarification. Yeah. Okay, so we are, moving on to item, we're still on.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're public comment on item G.
What's your budgetary concerns? Is it already worked in the budget? Is that?
We can't answer questions,
Okay.
we can during discussion.
During discussion weekend, so, is there any public comment? Okay. Okay, back to the board for further discussion or a motion.
Yes, I believe all this is budgeted, it's been budgeted, right, Lucy? Yeah, the summer jump start program. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
I just know everyone's here, but this is the time to talk about hiring and firing, which is a very challenging part of being a board member. And Montana is one of the few states that has the school boards in charge of hiring and firing. And so, I just think I wanted to take the opportunity to say it's a very vulnerable position to be in because we actually get very little information when we hire or fire anybody. And so we don't take this voting in any way lightly, and it's definitely a heavy item. So it's just something, but it is one of the powers and duties that is put on us by the state of Montana.
With that,
I move that we approve this.
this is moved by Katie,
I'll second it.
seconded by Jerry, all in favor? We can now move on to item H, which is the donation from the WHS band with Lucy Shea.
Thank you. Presented for your consideration is a donation check in the amount of $20,807.25. For the high school band. And those funds have been earmarked for a trip to New Orleans in 2027. This trip is organized and managed by Amanda Haley, who we know is an excellent fundraiser for his students. And this is just another example of this fundraising.
Did the Education Foundation help with this? Or they're focused on dance?
Not yet, today, no.
Okay. They're focused on this. That's.
Not for
Yeah, no, they're replacing.
He did that on his own? No.
No, I think it's only in the budget and they, you know, they are asking for money. Yeah, like.
Impressive.
Yeah.
Get him on another board. Are there any other clarifying questions on this item? Is there any public comment on this item? Back to the board for further discussion or a motion.
I move we approve the donation. I second.
Okay, so that is moved by Darcy and seconded by Quincy, all in favor? Beautiful. You got all that, Lucy? Thank you. Okay. Now we'll move on to discussion item I, which are suggested additions to hiring procedures. And so this, I think, again, in as a board trying, I like difficult discussions. I think that that's how we all grow together. And so I think in full transparency, this item is something that was brought forward in the sense that trying to add clarity and transparency to the processes that we go through. And also that this also exists already within, this isn't a new procedure. So it has been in there, but it's never been written down. It's never been given any timeline, and so it tends to be an arbitrary number at different times. I think in the board, since I've been on the board, I've asked this in the last 5 years. What is there a number of years? What does that look like? And we don't have any direction. Again, as a job that I take very seriously, which is hiring and firing of people. And I'll put my integrity against that every single day, that I take this job as seriously as you possibly can. And so I want to have clarity in what this looks like moving forward. So there is transparency. I have nothing, you can ask me anything. I tend to overshare. And I'm in my clinic, wherever it is. And so it's one of those things where I think as a board member, I feel like I need direction. And I think our board in general feels like we need direction with this. And so that's really why it's been put on here as a discussion item, not an action item. There's no vote happening tonight on this item. It's just open for discussion and for all of you to hear as well. So I don't know if board members have any comments or discussion they would like to add to it.
I would just say that that's why it's happening right now, is because it is a discussion item, and to some of the points that were raised, we can't just have this conversation. We have to have it right now. So when we need to clarify processes and procedures, do it publicly. So that's what we're doing. So as far as that confusion, you're watching it happen. Yeah. So, but sometimes it means it looks confusing, or because it's confusing to us. So that's why this is the only time we could do it.
So I think a couple of things I had talked to Dave about presenting tonight are, is this written down anywhere with a procedure that someone could look to and say, this is what we follow? Okay, it doesn't exist anywhere.
It doesn't, no, it does not exist.
Okay. And it does not apply to union members as far as it is purely for the CBA, it's purely for extracurricular or additional duties.
Yes, as that is stated in there, that is applying to extracurricular.
Okay.
So I would say that due to what I'm hearing, that this is not new, it's sort of somewhere squishy in procedure. First of all, we as a board shouldn't be discussing procedure. My I guess recommendation is that we make that this go to policy. That way.
Well, that's part of the confusion too, is that.
If it's a procedure, then it's.
Yeah.
It's not. Yeah, and it can be, so I recommend that it's not, maybe not exactly as written, but that we have the discussion and with the public and the input to get this as a policy so that it's clear, so that it's always, factored in on extracurricular positions.
One thing that would be nice about it being a policy, for the question that came up earlier, is there would be an opportunity to have direct public input before an action is taken. Yeah, we can't, like you said, we can't have conversations as a group that aren't public. And so for the last several years, there have been several times where, a board member can call the chair or call Dave and say, there are a certain number of years and there hasn't been. And Dave's like, sometimes it's a 1-year guideline, or sometimes there's 2, or a probationary period when you're a new tenure, there's 3 years. Even if you're doing great on your second year, you still have to wait a standard 3 years. So as a way of just providing clarity, not related to any certain situation, but in general, and having, clear policies in place, I think it's something worth considering. I also think it's important to say, and I appreciated that Chad said this, a lot of times it's very hard to make decisions about this because some people might have information that other people don't have, right? And you can't get into that information, especially in a public meeting, because of student privacy rights and staff privacy rights. So nobody's gonna be able to answer questions that are gonna violate somebody's rights. And if you had a procedure, process, policy like this in place, then it doesn't even beg that question of explain yourself, because it's already part of our established process. And I think it's worth noting that in a few cases, people might have the same information but judge it differently. And that's where, as a board, it becomes a personal call
as to exactly what Adrian pointed out over my shoulder, what's best for students. And that's always speaking for myself, but knowing each of you, where we're each coming from, like based on what I know, what do I think is best for students? And then the decision comes from there. So I just think that an opportunity to have clarity. And then it's not clear.
And this was a question I had, because I didn't know, I'm like, if people are getting 100 reprimands a year because every parent that calls in issues, that I understand it's not a fair thing. And so I asked Dave, on average over the last 5 years, what is the average number of reprimands that happen within a district, within our staff, coaches, everybody per year? And it's 2.4. And so I thought, 2.4 is not, I commend you. That's amazing. I think that speaks highly that we don't really have an issue within. But I also look at, again, I don't know what any of that entails, but I look at it in my own profession and a lot of other professions that some might not be worthwhile at all. I think some reprimands are probably lack total merit, and I totally get it. And then I think there's some reprimands that probably are legitimate. And then how do we decipher, again, as being the main hiring, being asked to do this? I don't know I don't get to decipher those things. I don't get to know those things. And I think sometimes we ask our students the same things. We hold them to this really high standard where if all our sports athletes are caught at a party and you were there to pick up someone because you were their designated driver, you still are probably going to get suspended for 10 days. And you were totally not, you weren't necessarily doing anything wrong. I think that it can apply to all of us, that we're held at a high standard and we hold our students there. And so it becomes this idea for me as I'm trying to figure out where can you, what's fair and not fair. And I think discussing this policy is trying to figure that out for me.
Yeah, to provide clarity. It provides clarity, and it was definitely one of the things, like I said, having to really take recommendations and not be part of the interviews, not see the personnel files, not see anything, and just take recommendations. Put us in a vulnerable position sometimes. And it's kind of one of the hardest things we do. It is something we spend a lot of time talking about, different work sessions we've had, different people come in from MTSBA, we've had our attorney come in, just about trainings and trying to make it as transparent as possible, but there's still some things that can never know. And this is just another piece to make sure that we're always aware of, that we know that we're doing, because we would never take reprimand lightly. It's just like, if a student gets in trouble, we don't take that lightly. But it takes a lot to get to a level, even for a student, where they're a letter in their file or something happens. So I think it's important that we, that the board has comfort. And this, one of the things we've worked on really hard as a board is getting our policies and our procedures in place so they're easier to follow. So if somebody else were to come in and sit in these seats, they would know. We've done it with the superintendent evaluation, we've done it with other things. So we're trying really hard to make it so it can move forward. This is definitely a painful situation we're in and a hard time, but clarity is kindness. So I think knowing what's out there is the goal.
If it were to go through Paul, what would that look like?
So the way I would suggest is first of all, just so everybody knows, I'm head of policy for that's what you know. So I wouldn't want it to come to the policy. I guess what I'd like to do is have, before it goes to policy committee or as part of that process, I'd like to have some of the public discussion and some of the input from the union and the administration and everybody ahead of time to sort of craft the language when it goes into policy committee. We have something, so we're not crafting it in policy. Well, so, and I don't know exactly how we do that, but I guess I'd suggest that on the next meeting or at a later meeting, we put this on the agenda as another discussion.
Like a work session.
some way,
Kind of
which
like what
will be
Avery was talking
public
about.
and noticed, so people can come in, and you can certainly also send in, letters, et cetera, but to say, these are my thoughts on how this policy should. And then we go into policy. And then it would come back to full board. As the policy committee crafts it, we come back to full board, and then there would again be public comment on not only how it looks, but whether you support it or not at that. And then we would vote.
Well, I think the one positive in that too is because right now it does exist, and it exists in a really, a different board could interpret it differently and just implement. An administrator, but it could be interpreted so differently by everyone right now, and so I think by having the ability of public comment.
Yeah, questions or anything?
Not on the discussion, but it will be, so this is the goal, is that.
I think it would be for clarity. Because we see.
Legally, others, I can't, but.
I'm saying it exists, and then we say it's not existing.
It's not written down, so
It's not written down, but there, let me rephrase. But something is being followed right now that is not written down.
We can't
even find it.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense.
So it doesn't exist, it either exists or it doesn't.
It does not exist, but an administrator, whoever is someone can follow, make up their own way of doing it right now at any time. So if Dave left and a new superintendent came in, he said, this is how this is going to work. And it could be, would you like to say?
Well, I just think that, I don't think there's any written procedure or formal procedure in this area anyway.
Right.
But there is guidance that sometimes schools follow that is this general guidance.
So there's sometimes they'll call them.
Yeah, right, general guidance of 1 year or something like that.
No, we're not, no.
But
We can't have the public commenting right
I'm
now.
not commenting on,
Oh, no, he
I'm
is.
just commenting on myself, just there's guidance, similar to that, but there isn't anything written that I'm aware of, there's no law related to this.
So currently, guidance is being followed that is not written or has any policy whatsoever, but there is guidance being followed.
Kind of like best practice, right?
Best practice.
What's the best practice here? And you can search it up and be like, what's the best practice for this or that? So
different people
interpret it differently. So we are trying to get
And
something.
as confused as all of you are looking back at me, that's exactly how I felt, because we have guidance that is followed, but none of us really know what that looks like from administrator to administrator. It's all over the place. And so the goal is, again, to have a meeting with public input. This is exactly what we want, is we want public input to make it that it's stated somewhere, so it doesn't just get interpreted by the person who's in charge or guidance from the person who's in charge.
That's
And
why
I think it would benefit.
make recommendations.
Yeah.
So then that would be,
We'll have to stop the conversation.
so that's the idea, is it's very nebulous right now, and decisions are being made on a nebulous idea, and we're trying to have it put into a policy so that we're all on the same page. And right now, I think the best way to do it is to have public input. That's why we're all here, as we open it up at a work session and we have people come in and give your ideas. And that's exactly why this has been made a discussion item and not just an action item. Nothing is being voted on. We do care what people think about it, and we all want to have input in what it looks like. And that is very important, especially in a community. I think it's important that we all have a say in what this looks like. And so that's kind of the idea I'm getting, is that we want to put this at a work session.
Yeah.
And, okay. And that everyone will be notified so they can participate, because I think that's.
And per Adrian's comment earlier, I think it would be helpful if it was before, did you say June 30th? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's very doable.
Yes.
And we definitely want you guys to do. Absolutely. No. Great, no.
Is there any other? So we will move on to C, which is the administrator announcements. We have. I'm sorry, A. C reports A.
It's my comments here with the, most of the WHF.
It's all about. I need.
Sure.
So, it's probably the best thing we can do is take like the great. Okay, maybe somebody else wants to.
Okay.
Okay, so.
Yeah.
So I was gonna make some comments about the WHS expansion, clarify some of those things, but I think Luke did a great job of covering all that. Did an outstanding job of covering some of the progress that's been made. They're making very good progress. Quickly, it's really nice to see that. We took a, one thing I wanted to comment on today is this quick response team in our district-wide quick response team, led by Mr. Brown, facilitated a walkthrough. They all very just looking at it from a safety, looking at what it looks like, pathways around the building, access to the like that. That was a very good exercise for today to go through and just kind of get an idea of what's happening. And how things are progressing. You know, we're trying to make sure that we anticipate some access areas and things like that. Talked about that. So just looking at that, and then where students will walk near some of those construction fences and like that, making sure we have fencing that separates them from pathways. Like that. So they're working hard on that as well.
Can I comment on that?
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, the email out about the incident that was in the parking lot, that did, or who sent it? Just that they're the weird, like, I was like, I feel like, those are all just such nice communications, part of that, we talked about, so. Thank you.
Yeah, that comes from some of our discussions we've had before.
Yes, yeah.
Letting people know about something where, got a lot of attention there, so I'm sure.
Like crazy.
It was really unusual situation, yeah.
Good for standard.
Yeah, their seat was right there, so. But, yeah, I think that's all we have for.
Great. Are there any trustee announcements?
Yeah, I just want to acknowledge it was great to have public here. That was yes. Unfortunately, it was a heated situation, which is unfortunate that we, but I just want to. It's hard. I think when as trustees we want to question and or don't just rubber stamp, and that's hard for everyone to understand. And I just don't think we take any of it lightly. And you know, we're all here because we care about kids just as much as everybody else. And we just have differing opinions sometimes as to maybe how that shows.
Well, and I think the other thing is it's very difficult for the public to understand the rules. And it's very difficult for us because we want to have a dialogue, but yet the rules of what we can do and cannot do are very clear. We can't respond correctly.
Yeah.
But in a work session, we can.
In a work session, we can, not in a business.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. I mean, that's a great.
But I don't think the public understands that. I think that's
we don't
part
wanna
of the
be rude.
frustration.
And you're like, sorry, I can't talk.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
not like culverts. Yeah, so, sorry. So. Okay, so we will, any other trustee announcements? Okay, we'll move on to super.
Well, I kind of have. Okay, so you know how I work at FBCC?
Yes.
It's great. Honestly, I really enjoy my job. And we've had such a hard time with, like, we're just having bargaining issues. And so Dave Lucky, our IBB mediator, came to FBCC and he used us as an example, you guys. He was like, process, Whitefish schools, and have it all worked out. And so I just thought it was major kudos to all of us who've invested in the IBB process, that when he tells us that he goes out and spreads the good word about Whitefish schools, he really does. I was there for it. I was like,
And is it going to help you?
yes. Yes,
Are
I
they
mean,
gonna
IBB,
start-
I think, is a complete game changer. It actually reminded me a lot of what Michelle said in her public interview about how when they went through the year without the contract in place, it created that big division and it just took it till November. Well, at FDCC, it's now April, so it's been a long year of this, you know, without a contract and without an annual raise, and it just made me so grateful about what you all have established here. Because it is transparent, because there is a budget, because it is solutions oriented. I just think that it's a complete game changer, and seeing the dichotomy between those two made me really proud of this group.
And I'm old enough to remember when we didn't do it.
I was teaching when we
It
did
was-
it.
It was
Send these letters.
long, yeah.
In different rooms where you don't talk to each other. It's just really interesting. So Dave Lucky, he really is singing our praises all across Montana. It's great.
There was a time when there was almost a strike here in Whitefish.
Not anymore.
Not way before IBB, so.
Yeah.
I'm very happy to see IBB.
Yeah.
Really me and Dave Byrne.
Yes.
Great.
Any other questions? We'll move on to superintendent meetings with his announcements.
Yeah, well, the announcements, were covered again very well by Carmel. Any district updates again, I think really likes mentions. That's really impressive to watch. It's moving at such a fast pace. It keeps us all very busy. That's a good thing. And you're seeing some of that come here to the board tonight, which is exciting. So just want you to know everyone's working really hard, and Mr. Brown and I see each other in hard hat a lot and stuff. So.
You guys look good with those gold shovels. I hope you got to take them home.
No, they take them back.
Oh, wow.
They keep them for the next project.
If they weren't just paint, I was gonna snuggle with someone.
Yeah.
They're back home.
And I wanted to recognize the Whitefish pilots here. Thank
Yeah,
you
that was-
very much
yeah,
for
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Came out in the rain.
Yeah,
Sorry,
we did.
came out in the rain, took our picture.
Thanks so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you. So, and then, yeah, I think the enrollment, you can see there, we go over that every time we're in a meeting here and look at some of these updates, and you can see that it's trending down a little bit, but that sometimes happens during the year. We had 50 start the year in 1970 now. I think sometimes you see a little uptick at the end, or even because we're gonna get out of district consideration here coming up in terms of applications, that happens a little bit. And then at the beginning of the year, we have a lot of typically put in, and again, that's the trend we've seen throughout. We anticipate that occurring, where we'll see most of the enrollment increase in middle school and high school. We don't know that for sure, but that's the trend we've been seeing for years. And then let's see, and we have all our list of transfers there. So those are people moving between buildings or within the building, things like that. You can see a list of transfers of different positions throughout our district. And then also a list of our resignations as well.
So these are the transfers where they went.
Correct. Yes, that's a good question. Yes.
I was there commenting on that about all the movement. It's like, that's a lot of movement.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I think we had, in the end, around 7 openings at home. Out of all the, some we're currently working very hard to fill the list.
These transfers, knowing what these transfers are this early in the game is incredibly helpful for my budgeting. You know, knowing this in April instead of June is crisis. So thank you, HR, and thank you administrators. Yeah.
So,
Hiring.
does this mean that all that was coming out of the independent? Do we know what's on there? I mean, who
Fitzsimmons.
And so you can see on that same list, you have.
Oh,
the
I
person
did.
moving into that.
Yeah, I see. Okay, that's all right.
Move the, is it really head teacher? There's two different teachers.
Any other questions?
Thank you for adding the transfers. I know that's something we started a couple of, maybe three,
Yeah.
4 years ago. That's really helpful. That's really great.
Especially because we look at enrollment, so I find that like matching those up to be helpful for my brain to understand, like, okay, yeah. And budget, like it all goes together, just in my mind.
It's difficult for my brain.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, but
It's
it's nice to have it written down. And then I put it in a spreadsheet. And I see who's leaving and who's coming in and what the net effect of the money.
The budget, yeah.
Oh, nice.
See,
Yeah. And you'll listen to the next, so we'll keep hearing that. Any questions?
Okay, we'll move on to Director of Business.
thank you. And I'd like to start by talking about my recent professional development session that I attended. I don't usually share those local PD opportunities with you, such as through MassCode and Montana Association of School Business Officials. I just do it without really sharing it with you, but this time I want to share with you the opportunity that Dave recommended to me about 6 months ago. And it was professional development related to leadership and leadership abilities, which so I really welcome the opportunity. It was out of state. It was in Fort Worth, Texas.
Sorry.
At Deloitte University.
I like that you got a water bottle.
It's like and I also got a notebook and a pen. I did not. It was one of the nice things about this conference was also the dress code. So it was all over that. Yes, we had.
I'm sure that.
But so you know Deloitte as the financial global company. They do financial advising, auditing, tax work. But this had nothing to do with finance. This was a conference specifically geared toward public schools administrators.
Oh, cool.
So superintendents, principals, directors. And it was an absolutely amazing 2.5 days, during which I got really thrilled on my inabilities to deal with people. That was the whole point of the whole thing. It was.
I don't think that's a struggle for you. No.
It was one of the best PDs I've ever had. We didn't use any digital devices, no phones allowed, no laptops. There was not a single PowerPoint presentation on the wall in 2.5 days.
Was it refreshing?
Extremely. So all of it was just working in small groups, role playing, and being observed and getting feedback by my peers about
How'd you do?
sometimes good, sometimes not as good. But when I didn't do as good, I took note.
As we were doing.
And so I got to meet a lot of people that I'm looking for on LinkedIn right now and trying to connect with them. It was, I think there were 200 attendees, about 3 of us from Montana, but we did not work in the same groups. So it was absolutely wonderful. And I already shared with Sarah, we're both big on business chemistry profiles. So
What is that?
a business chemistry profile is a profile of how you are in a workplace. This has nothing to do with a personality profile. Okay, it can be completely different at home, even though Kevin says I'm not. But it is how you react to situations, how you deal with problems, how you deal with people. And based on about 75 questions, everybody got their business chemistry. You can either be, you can be a combination of many things, but you can be a driver, a guardian, a pioneer, or an integrator. And during it has a work retreat, right? Yes, and we over the 2.5 days we were practicing. How do you talk and how do you ask questions of somebody who has a completely different work profile than you? Yeah, so it was very, so thank you, Dave, for recommending, and I would recommend this to all other administrators and directors. I really recommend that perhaps next year. Yeah, let's go. Let's go, yes. Yeah. I spoke to many of the other attendees from all over the United States and talked to them about IBB. Nobody knew what I was talking about. We're the models. And they were very interested, but pretty much they said, well, that will never happen where I am. That's too bad. And I don't really know how it happened over here. I just know that Heather Davis Schmitz spearheaded this. So when I got hired, it was already in place. So I don't know what or how she did it. I have no idea. But people truly looked at me like I had to. And they said, really? And you finish IBB in 3 months? And when we go into IBB, we feel like, oh my God, 3 months is such a long time. And people are telling me, we have sometimes 18-month long process.
Yes.
So we are really doing something that is very innovative. Very innovative. Yeah. Awesome. So I was
Way to
really,
spread the word.
yes. Well, I don't know if it's gonna catch on, but and just talking to the other attendees, I felt really good about working for the Whitefish School District. We have a lot going on, both academically and who our employees are, students, and achievement and everything else. I came back from that's a good place. We're doing a lot of things right. Thank you for listening. And again, please consider attending this meeting. Deloitte.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And just continuing to learn. I think that's so important because it's so hard to leave your office and it's hard to, maybe going to a vulnerable place because it was something that you were being observed.
It was very uncomfortable. Oh, you bet. Yes.
Yes, it was horrible.
Yeah, when somebody tells me, well, you didn't really listen to the end of the story. You just started giving, you were solving and giving ideas already before you even listened to the rest of the story. And you have to sit there and say, so a lot of, I don't know if feedback, it was one.
Oh,
good. Thank you for going.
Yes, awesome.
Financial report is looks exactly as it should for this time of the year. Any questions?
As always, you do a stellar job.
Thank you.
And again, congratulations on your audit, Mike.
Yes,
Thank you.
Really good.
Thank you. Very good. Thank you. So we will move on to the consent agenda. Are there any public comments on the consent agenda? Okay, back to the board for further discussion or motion. Second. Okay, moved by Katie and seconded by Nancy, all in favor? Okay.
And one last motion,
I move we adjourn.
moved by Darcy, seconded by Jerry, all in favor? Yeah. Thank you.